Regulation implies the employment of legal instruments for the implementation of socio-economic policy objectives. Policymakers aim to create efficient regulations which encompass all paradoxes possible and ensure that total benefits exceed total costs. Paradoxes inevitably exist in the regulatory process. A paradox is a proposition that, despite sound reasoning from acceptable premises, leads to a conclusion that seems senseless or self-contradictory. We would like to introduce two allied concepts here: input paradoxes and output paradoxes. Input paradoxes prevail before a regulation comes into existence. They arise from the differences in perceived objectives of diverse stakeholders. Output paradoxes, on the other hand, prevail post-implementation of a regulation. They arise from the differences between actual and intended outcomes of a regulation. To illustrate the paradoxes in regulation, we have briefly covered three distinct regulations which exhibit paradoxes at the local level, the national level, and the international level. The attendance policy at IIM Bangalore first, the oil subsidy policies prevalent in India next, and last, the Dodd-Frank Act in the United States. Let's now move to our institute's attendance policy, something all of us can effortlessly relate to. Here, we've recorded the views of two of our faculty members, Professor Sourav Mukherjee and Professor Manaswini Bhalla. Should attendance policy be an institute-level decision or a faculty-level decision?
See, the way it works is it has to be an institute-level decision because we are talking of first years, and here the uniformity across sections is very critical. So when you implement a rule like this, it will have to be an institute-level decision. At the same time, the rules are created in such a manner that it does not infringe on the freedom that an individual professor might demand, and hence there is scope for a faculty member to have some amount of leeway within that rule. So, the way the rule stands now is that a faculty member can make attendance compulsory, right? But overall, the idea is that if somebody wants to say that I don't want attendance in class, then he or she is given that freedom. So that was the decision. Earlier it was that everybody will have to make attendance compulsory. Now we are saying, okay, it depends on your choice. So at some level, you might say it has become a lot more flexible.
If attendance policy is a faculty level decision, what model would you follow and why?
Well, I have always been a strong supporter of having no attendance rule. Part of the reason is because if you force people into the class, then it is a pain for both the student and the faculty members. It is no great joy in teaching students who are not motivated enough. So hence, I would always prefer people to have students in class who are interested in being there. That's one. And the second thing is, I think we are talking of a relatively mature audience here. I mean, if I was teaching students in class 3 or class 4, then I know that they don't know what is good for them or what is bad for them. You have to get them to class. But here I think people take mature decisions. We must teach them how to take mature decisions, and there will be days where for various reasons they will not want to come to class. I mean, it might be because they have an important meeting with another company outside, and I think we must allow them to have that freedom. At the same time, the system should be such that students are also bearing the consequences of that. So, you make them responsible for coming to class or not coming to class, and have a system where they are also bearing the consequences of being in class or not being in class.
In respect of the policies you have adopted in your courses, do you feel the intended outcomes have been achieved?
So the overall intended effect should be that maximum students learn and be able to apply this course, apply these learnings to other situations. I think it's too early to judge that. We have just about started using this using this system. But I think overall I am quite comfortable now that I am not dragging people to class because they are compelled to do. I mean, I teach two sections. One starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and another at 10 o'clock, and there is distinct difference in attendance between the two courses. And I don't know whether it is the right thing to do, but certainly, I mean, I never enjoyed teaching in a class where people are falling asleep. I think I am enjoying. I guess whoever is coming to class are coming because they like the course, and so far it seems to be quite okay.
Let's now hear the views of Professor Manaswini Bhalla on this issue. In her opinion, institute level attendance policy is uniform and fair for all students. Each faculty, however, should have the final word on his or her attendance policy. On being asked about her preferred model, she said, I intend to make attendance compulsory for the core course, but not for the elective. Earlier, I did not have mandatory policy as I assumed that each individual knows the best use of his time. However, many students were unable to manage their time well and did not know the best use of their time. A large absentee number reduces the tempo of the class and major portion of the courses had to be repeated. On being asked about the success of her model, she said, a non-mandatory policy ensures that only interested set of students attend the class. Outcome of the policy was achieved in case of the elective offered, but not so for the core course. Hence, I made 75% attendance compulsory for the core course from this year.
Let's proceed to the oil subsidy policy dilemma in India. The government in India has always subsidized petroleum products in public interest. Conversely, these very subsidies lead to a high fiscal deficit. Trimming them would help improve our credit ratings and foreign investments. Therein lies the paradox. Let's now hear the views of Dr. C. Rangarajan, Chairman of the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister's Office.
The Indian economy has slowed down. The growth rate for the last year is now estimated to be about 6.5%. This is a steep climb down from the 9% rate of growth which we had seen in the 3 years after 2005-06. There is a need to raise these prices because the fiscal deficit can be contained only if we act on cutting the subsidies.
The government's decision to increase the petrol price in May this year backfired and resulted in a nationwide bund. Keeping all interest groups in mind, therefore, when framing policy is imperative. The global financial crisis in 2008 led to the drafting of numerous federal proposals to address the too big to fail issue. The eventual outcome was in the form of the Dodd-Frank Act. Let's now hear from President Obama himself.
Hello, Mr. President. Hello, John. What are you doing here? I heard Chris Dodd and Bonnie Frank just passed a new bill and I had some questions to ask you about it, from the American people. That is great, John. What would you like to ask me? What is this Dodd-Frank Act? It is an act to promote the financial stability of the United States by improving accountability and transparency in the financial system. To end too big to fail. To protect the American taxpayer by ending bailouts. And to protect consumers from abusive financial services practices. That sounds great. Have you read it? Are you kidding? I am told it has 2,300 pages and is divided into 16 titles.
A paradox here is that one opinion group believes this law would eliminate the too big to fail syndrome, while another opinion group feels that this would only create a loss in operating freedom and thus induce further probability of failure. A second paradox here is that though the law aims to regulate banks and other financial institutions, the rent-seeking and lobbying involved makes the law itself incapable of standing on its own 2 feet.